Hey there everybody, it's Tara from Healing Adventures. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Today you are witnessing, yay, our first Healing Adventures interview. And who I am here with is Miss Alisha Hall. And she is a dear friend of mine that I have recently met this year. And I really wanted to take the time to interview her. And she just got back from Costa Rica. Hi, yeah, okay. And it's gonna be good and juicy what we're gonna talk about today.
Yeah.
I really wanted to take some time to just speak with her about her journey, because I see you as somebody that is just, what I like to say is ordinary people living extraordinary lives. And so Alisha and I met through a meditation group. I immediately gravitated towards her. She has this amazing energy. She has an incredible husband, beautiful children. They have this extraordinary life, yes. And they've just decided to go on this journey and move to Costa Rica. But there's been an interesting twist to that journey. But really what I want to talk about today is I want to look at, you know, as many of you know that have stopped by my channel. Oh, by the way, to all my subscribers, thank you for being here. And if you're new to the channel, you can go ahead and check out a video that says, are you ready for your healing adventure? Because that will tell you a little bit more about what we do. And definitely stay tuned towards the end, because we'll have some questions for you as well, something to think about, some stuff to just really put over there as food for thought for you, so that you can really look at your life and are you living your best life? And really what Healing Adventures is about peeling those layers of our past, of our trauma, so that we can really step into the richness and the rawness of our truth and our purpose and our passion. And I had the awesome honor and opportunity to work with Alisha. She did a quantum healing hypnosis session, oh gosh, was that like 4 months ago maybe?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, about 4 months ago, and had some really cool openings, and they had already had this trip planned. But we're just going to learn a little bit about what her and her husband did, where they came from, where they are today. They literally left the corporate space. They created a business. They also are now living in Costa Rica, which was a vacation that turned into something else. So I'm going to turn it over to you and just really find out, like, tell us a little bit about you and what you guys are up to.
Gosh, and you know, I try to it's all happened, I would say so fast, but I would think over maybe 6 or 7 years of just becoming more open and becoming more aware of who I really am, of who my husband, we've kind of been on this journey together, and I'm grateful for that, because sometimes people move at different paces.
Yes.
But for us, you know, when we met in Texas, we'd both just moved here from Florida, started our jobs at Dell, so we were in that corporate space that you mentioned. And at that point, like, we totally thought we were living the dream. We were living the American dream. We bought a house and had the cars and the kids and all of that. But
so when you say that, and let's just go back there a little bit, because I think so many of us get caught up in, well, let's just say this. Let's take another step back. As many of you watching this know that we are transitioning from the old Earth, which is 3-dimensional, to this new Earth space, which is moving into a 4 and 5D dimension. And inside of the old 3D realm, it was all about, you know, being in the corporate space, making your 6 or plus figure income, and then you buy a house and you drive a nice car and you have kids and you do all the things that we're told we're supposed to do. And so there you are.
There we are, just kind of following that, living that dream. And it was...
And all the while, what's going on within you?
You know, one, waking up to some detachments of some religious beliefs I had. That started waking up in me at some point. I just
Say more about that.
You know, I just started feeling, I grew up with a Christian background, and deep down in my heart, I wasn't connected to it while we were here in Texas and I'd met my husband, but deep down in my heart, I just started feeling like it was way bigger than what I'd ever been taught. I just started feeling there was more truth, there was more about like a one and a unity and a love, and it didn't even necessarily have to have a name or a description. It didn't have rules, and that just started to kind of wake up in me. And I started finding books that I'd say are common awakener books. You know, I read Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. Yes.
We'll put a link down in the information
section. It's a must, and it's a must for everyone, and it's a good yearly reader. I recommend it to everyone. It talks about that domestication process of how we grow up and we're told what to believe, this kind of thing. And so that helped me release a lot. And then watching the movie The Shift by Wayne Dyer was an awakener for me, for sure. And so, you know, it talks about in there shifting from the morning of your life to the afternoon of your life. And so I think that's like a beautiful way of thinking of all the things you've learned and gathered and been taught in that first part of your life, and then that afternoon of your life is really shifting into, it talks about, you know, the shift is finding your life's purpose, shifting from ambition to meaning. And so in that American dream, we're in the ambition part of it, of going and getting and achieving and competition and all of that. And then you go more into the meaning of your life and you're finding that life's purpose. A lot of times what that ends up being is sharing your life story and your journey, right? To help other people that are kind of coming along the way.
They're starting to wake up. So those of you that are watching, I mean, you may already be in the afternoon of your life, but some of us, we're still in the morning. We're still doing what we say or doing what we've been told we have to do. And that's really what these interviews are about, because I want you to hear from other people that it is possible. It is possible to completely go against all convention and live a life that you're going to dream up, live a life that you're going to create. Yes. I want to talk about your transition to, like, when you guys left the corporate space and then you started your direct marketing business, which really set you into a whole nother transition into life.
Yeah, and really what that transition did was it taught us manifestation. You know, I remember one day we came home from taking the kids to school and the busy life of that and kind of feeling stressed all the time. We were very happy still, but we were very stressed, and I don't think that's normal. And so it wasn't something I signed up for, I wanted in my life. And one day we talked about, like, gosh, there's got to be some way out there to earn money and not be so stressed and spend time with our family and feel more fulfilled. And so sure enough, I feel like we attracted this beautiful opportunity to do just that and build this business. And it gave us more time freedom and more family freedom, and more than anything, more connection with my husband and I so we could grow together. And it really opened our minds. We went through a roller coaster in that whole process, right? We went through the competition and ambition again, and just all about making money and being productive and working hard and working all the time and putting in hours and hustling hard and like all of those things that you're told that you believe are like the thing and that's the success, and just and sacrifice and those types of things. And I started to then disagree with that. Once I'd kind of been down that road for a little while, I was like, gosh, is that what it's about? It's about being number one, being on top, making tons of money all the time. And don't get me wrong, money's great. And I believe when you're living in an inspired state, money will always come to you. No matter what it is that you're doing, when you're in that inspiration, the money comes.
I just want to say too that she said when you're living in an inspired state, an inspired state, really just check in with yourself. Are you living in an inspired state? That's amazing.
Well, that shifted us. Let's jump into another little topic here of minimalism. So another thing. I almost died delivering my son a couple years ago. Wake up moment. Okay, it was, and I don't believe you need to have that type of moment to wake up. I think like we wait for those types of moments, but I don't know that they're necessary. I think that we can wake up through hearing other people's wake up moments.
Absolutely.
You know, without having to experience something like that. But that's just that's the story I needed in my life to do, right?
That was your journey, your choice. And we talk about this with the quantum healing hypnosis. We all come in with different journeys. We all come in with different lessons. And we also, in our blueprint, create when we're going to have the trigger to wake up.
And that's what that did for me. I think immediately from there, it was like, gosh, is it about the money? Is it about the almost 4,000 square foot house and the things I felt like I kind of had to prove because I thought the American dream was this, and so I was achieving that. And then I was like, oh, is that what matters? And at the end, am I spending as much time with my family, and am I doing my life's work? I started to ask those questions, and so Minimalism, this documentary, came into our life, and I remember watching that, and it was a wake-up moment for me. I was like, whoa, how attached are we as a country, as a world, as a planet, attached to physical things and the things we own and have, and consumerism, and filling voids with buying things, and making money to spend money, or having to be in a job you hate because you've created this life that costs this much money, and so you've put yourself in a jail, so to speak.
Yes.
And so we just started shifting
Modern
that.
day slavery, people, wake up.
It is exactly that. I just had that little download the other day. I was like, gosh, I don't want to take away from other ways we've defined slavery, but that's what we're in.
So we're
straight up.
The American dream is a form of modern day slavery.
I felt that. I felt that, and it was like time to break away and to break free. And so I did that. And what I didn't realize was happening at that moment, I mean, all of this is a spiritual transition, but what I didn't realize at that moment was getting rid of physical things created space for spiritual things, if you want to use that. I was making space, I was making room. And so just getting rid of little tiny things in your house that you don't even realize are hiding in the closets, they create space for you.
Right.
And so we lived in almost 4,000 square feet. We decided, and I will tell you, probably for about 6 months or maybe even a year, we were hearing that voice of like, we joke about it, like we should just sell everything and travel, or sell everything, get a small house as a home base and travel. And we kind of like say that sometimes, but just like we'll do that one day. And then one day we were sitting there in the kitchen and it was like, why do we keep talking about this? What are we going to do about it? How many times do we do that, right? These little ideas come in and they sound great. They actually they sound inspiring.
Yes.
But we don't go that inspiring path a lot of times.
And I'm going to interject here. Those voices that you hear every day, all day, are your higher self speaking. But we have been so conditioned and trained to not listen to it, to second guess it. But the moment you start following that and trusting that inner guidance system that you have, it is amazing what opens up, literally.
It's exactly
and the flow that you step into. And I want to take us back just a little bit. I want to talk about, because I know this is going to be a point for many people that are married, many people that are in relationship. How does how did this awakening and these transitions impact your marriage? And how did you guys get through when I keep hearing turtles and fish are jumping up and down and around. We're at the Blue Hole Park here in Georgetown, Texas. It's beautiful. But yeah, how did you guys move through those shifts, especially as you're awakening? Because I think a lot of times fear for people is that you've got one person waking up, one person not waking up, or one person waking up and another one just refuses to wake up. Like, how did that impact your marriage, and how did you guys move through those tough times?
Oh, that's such a good thing. I think in my particular case, my husband DH, he has always just been a supporter of whatever I don't know how to say this. He just supports me and honors me and kind of lets me do things, and then is always open. And so I'm so grateful for that, because it would have been a lot harder to transition to this. I can't say that he was always right where I was at the same time, but he's caught up a lot. And so through that, understanding his story, honoring him, and being patient and loving with that is also such an important part of this, and not being frustrated if somebody isn't like right where you're at that moment. But I use the same tools that help me. I read the book and I said, read this book. I watched The Shift and I was like, let's sit and watch The Shift, and we watched Minimalism and we watched it together. And so we really started creating space where he and I think in marriages in general, let's take this not from a spiritual awakening standpoint, but we're so caught up in our phones and our jobs and our lives and being busy and needed and important and all of those things. We are not, and being parents even, that we're distracted from the connection and the union that we committed and chose to be in together.
Yes.
And so I will say for us, we connected like every single night. When the kids went to bed, we would just sit on our kitchen counter and talk about stuff. We didn't sit and watch a TV and a show and dream about that. We started getting to know each other. Together, we were getting to know each other and we were getting to know ourselves. And it was an activator. It's beautiful.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Keynote. Getting to know each other. Getting to know each other, because something I used to say in the workshops I used to teach with women in relationships is the moment you roll over, and I learned this from one of my mentors many years ago, but the moment you roll over in bed and you look at that individual and you say, I know them, is the moment the relationship is over. That is the moment the relationship ends, because the moment you say, I know you, you have stopped their evolution, their growth, you have boxed them into a box and they can't get out. And so I love that you say that you sat on the counter, you didn't get on a phone, you didn't put on the latest hot miniseries, you sat on the counter and got to know each other. That is huge, people, FYI.
Oh, it is so huge, and oh gosh, what a beautiful thing that if I could take a snapshot of who I was as a person 5 or 10 years ago. We've been married for 10 years and we've known each other. We've been together almost immediately since we met, so about 14 or 15 years. And gosh, I'm not the person that he met, and he's not the person I met, and we've evolved and loved each other through that process together. And it's creating space. There's so much more to go. There's so much more to grow. And we foster that.
I want to say too that when I see the two of you, because like I said, I just met the two of them this year, and I barely know him, but he's amazing, and it's the energy. When I see the two of you together, there is such synergy that it is not. I am not at all. You guys are just a unit together. Like it's just together. And I see you, even when I see you, like I just see your souls are together. There's unification there, and it's like you're going together, and that's beautiful. But what the key point to hear is that anything is possible, but it really is about going, as I was saying, you guys are very non-conventional. You began that journey of breaking out of what you were told life is supposed to look like, and you began to listen to those inner questions that were showing up, and that's beautiful. And and I just want to go back again, here are two people who started in the corporate space working for Dell, as we all know is a very large company in the world, and then they transitioned, believe it or not, to a direct marketing company, which there's so much stigma around that, and so many people make that wrong and question you, and there are just so many limiting beliefs around that. But here's a couple who took that on together, grew a business to where then they got to be home with their kids, and their kids are just absolute, oh my God, they're just beauties, these little people. They're so amazing. So yeah, I mean, it's, anything is possible. Anything.
And I will say, going back even further to like how my husband and I connected, number one, I believe we've been together forever in many lifetimes. But, I had a lot of interesting relationships before I met him. He's exactly opposite of anyone I'd ever dated in my life. And it really, it took me learning to love myself. And then he came. I love myself enough that I didn't need him to love me, to fill a void. I love myself so much that I knew what I wanted and what I stood for. And at that moment, I attracted, I feel like, this beautiful soul into my picture. And so we've been able to grow and evolve together. And and every relationship's a teacher, right? Whether they end or they're blissful, or there's always moments and all of that. But there are all these beautiful teachers when we can see life in every experience that, wow, this isn't hurting me, this is teaching me, this is learning me. It might feel like it stings for a moment, but we don't have to hold on to that pain if we don't want to. And so then we can learn and evolve and grow and create the person that you are supposed to be or want to be, or loving yourself, I'd like to say. And then you attract those people that also will love you. In the way you deserve and should be loved, in the way you love yourself.
The way you love yourself. And that is another another key piece for all of you to hear, is that really the key to a successful, healthy relationship, marriage, and I don't even mean romantic, any relationship, with friends, with your children, with your partners, with your bosses, starts with yourself. Your core individual. If you are not in love with this entire being that sits with you, that's where the work begins. And inside of that journey, flow begins to occur. I mean, it's such a It's such a beautiful thing. Another important thing that Alisha and I were just talking about is we were talking about this third dimensional life and how she's now transitioned into pretty much living a full fourth dimension / 5D life. Her and her husband decided to take the kids to Costa Rica for the summer.
Why not?
Let's do that.
Yeah.
But then something happened.
We moved from this American dream house to this smaller, beautiful house, more connected with nature, just simplified. And we owned our cars, and like we just made sure we were completely paying off debt instead of blowing money on new things, and unchaining ourselves, right, to the American dream, so that we had that freedom. So when the idea for Costa Rica came, I mean, the business that we've built certainly helped us financially be able to do that. And then also just not having a whole lot to have to spend money on here and keep us here allowed us that freedom. And so when we got to Costa Rica, the idea was just to have a 2-month experience. And I would say within about 15 to 20 days, it wasn't just about the idea of a luxury vacation in Costa Rica. It wasn't that. It was like we felt pulled there. We knew then when we got there that we were there for this really big reason of some sort. We felt like we were at home. We felt connected. We started coming in contact with lots of great people that were kind of seeing and growing how we are, and conscious conversations, and when you're first growing, right, and awakening, it's hard to find that sometimes. Like, I mean, all of us are on different journeys. Some of us have been awake for a very long time, and some haven't. So you're shedding and detaching your old beliefs. You're shedding and detaching from the physical things, and so that you can create that space. You talked about, with higher self and listening to that voice. A lot of times it's drowned out. Period. It's not even that we're not listening to it. We can't even hear it. We don't even know it's there. We're not even acknowledging its existence. Completely asleep. Because we're so caught up in the 3D stuff, right? So letting go of all that stuff was an exercise for me that also created letting go of emotional stuff too. So it's that bridge of just learning to let go. And that's where we're at right now, right? Is the letting go process of, here we are in this country and we're loving it and we're feeling like home. And this might sound crazy, but you know what? We're just gonna stay. And
that's what she said, they're staying. So she's here for a couple reasons, but part of why she's here is they're shedding everything and staying in Costa Rica. I love that.
And it actually sounds a little bit crazy, but we are in straight up surrender right now.
And talk about that a little bit, because I know we were talking about that when we were walking over. What has the straight up surrender been looking like for you?
Releasing control to everything. And here's how I know when I'm trying to be in control. I don't feel good. I feel anxious, I feel angry, I feel frustrated, I feel stressed out. Okay, you're trying to be in control right now. And that's the energy that I hold on to a lot. But I'm finding in general conversation, that's where a lot of people are right now, is that they're holding on to some things they just, for whatever reason, can't let go of. Fear is kind of controlling that. Control in parenting, control in how I make money.
That's a whole other video.
Forever video, for real, And what a beautiful thing though, when you can learn that, oh, I'm not happy with this outcome or this picture because I'm trying to control it. If we could just for a moment imagine that if we just took a step back and we release that control and we open up some space to connect with our higher self, we will be guided in a much more glorious direction than our controlling self would ever create for us. We just can't see the magnificence of it and the beauty of it and the ease and the flow of it. And so that's what we're learning it through just acting. And I've had these moments, that moment for an example where I was like, I think we're gonna live here. And I threw it out there in this neighborhood that we were in, that we're meant to be in. And I remember typing it on the group page and saying, does anyone have a home we could rent for 6 months to a year? And I remember feeling, I hadn't felt this feeling in a long time. It was, I guess you could call fear. It was fire. It was like stomach and pit and like, oh, and almost vomiting. It's like, am I doing the right thing? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. What are we doing here? Is this right? And then just like, in thinking of how the turmoil I was putting my body in at that moment when I was making that commitment, and then thinking about how I felt just hours later once I walked through the fear.
Yes.
It was total peace and total, holy shit, this is awesome, this is amazing, am I here, is this real? And so how many times do we though, you know, I learned so much in that moment. I feel like I'm meant to teach and help people with this. We feel that fear and we stop and we retreat and we go back to safety and comfort.
We go back to
control.
Safe. Yes.
We want to control our story.
Yes.
We don't want to feel, and so fear isn't necessarily a bad thing, and that maybe fear isn't what I was feeling. Fear's fake anyways. I really do believe it's fake, but you know, I was feeling that beautiful moment of whatever all that stuff was, and I didn't let it stop me. And I've done that a lot in my life. That's what unconventional is.
Well, and I just want to say, as some of you know, fear is false events appearing real, right? And you talked about this 3D dimensional world that we live in or have been living in, where, you know, when you look at the amount of control of the modern day slavery, it really was designed to have you like this and to never look out there. You just were here, because if you're here, then you're inside that system and you're working for not you, for them, right? And when you come out, it's a very, okay, I'm going to use this analogy because I worked at a zoo. I worked at the Oakland Zoo for a couple years ago. I studied anthropology, wanted to be an animal behavioralist. And many people have a lot of bad thoughts about a zoo, but I want to tell you a thing about the zoo. The majority of the animals in the zoo have never lived in the wild. The only thing they know is the zoo. When you get those animals outside of the cage, they shit their pants, they don't know what to do, and they're terrified. So that happened to one of the lions. One of the lioness, she climbed the fence to go get the bison because she's living from instinct. There's a bison, I'm gonna go get it. She got over there and she panicked. She didn't know what to do, and she was terrified and went into complete fear.
Wow.
Right? She could have just eaten the bison, but she didn't.
Yeah.
You know, so I use that analogy as, you know, that, consider we just live in a big zoo and it's called your house, your yard, you know, the mileage to your job and back and wherever your family is, and you don't go outside of that. And the moment, and that's why travel is so key, and something that I've been really thinking about with my son. I feel like I've had the same bug that you have, but I'm exploring, I've got to go through my own limiting beliefs around it. But, you know, it's the moment you get outside of this world and you begin to see that there's all these other worlds going on, and they're all so magnificent and different and beautiful. The cultures are different, the limitations are different. You start realizing that, you know, we're just these human machines just creating these boxes. But when you come outside of that box, it's like the world is literally your oyster. And you have all this, well, I don't want to say have all of everything, because then the journey is learning how to let go. It's learning how to shed those limiting beliefs that were literally ingrained from the day that you came out of the womb. They were actually being ingrained while you were in the womb. While you were in the womb, you were being imprinted. You're imprinting all of your parents' limiting beliefs. And all of that stuff is do in you. And you come out into this world, and then it's a whole nother journey to get to where you guys are right now. And it's just, it's fascinating. And I just want to acknowledge you, because I am so inspired by your guys' story, because you literally have been through, and this is why I would say, yes, absolutely, you should teach this, because you've been through all phases of that transition.
In a short time.
Yes, exactly, in a very short time. You're still very young. In a very short time, you have been through the religious stuff. You have been through the corporate stuff. You have been through businesses that people said that's not real and that's not possible.
Let it go, yeah.
You've been through the marriage, the ups and the downs. You've been through having the kids, the highs and the lows, almost losing yourself while having a baby. You've been through all these transitions, and now here you guys are, moving from what's considered the old earth, and you are now living inside of the new earth, as to where you even said coming back to Austin, Texas here was a huge kind of culture shift, a frequency shift from where you are right now. So say a little bit about that, because I think, you know, those of you who do follow my quantum healing stuff here, you know, we all know about the new and the old earth and what's going on. And so talk a little bit about that, because you're now living that.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I have as much background knowledge on that. I'm just flowing through it and learning it as I go, kind of thing. And so Well, one of the things I've noticed big time is just the consumerism is a trap a little bit. Everything's so convenient and all over and everywhere. And so, you know, when you're in Costa Rica, especially where we live up in this beautiful mountain jungle with this magical river, it really is as magical as it sounds, and even more so than I can describe. But your life isn't about, what will we do today? I'm kind of bored. Let's go shop. Let's go spend money. Let's go run to the store and grab things. Like, it's just not like that. It's, let's go connect with nature. Let's spend time together. Let's do life together. Let's meditate. I feel like we've created this space of like, work is meditation and knowing yourself and discovering yourself and creating the space to create for what you're really, that's the ambition, like moving to the meaning of your life. That's where we're at right now, is kind of opening that up. And so here we were just a little bit distracted.
So I know we were talking about limiting beliefs and really you guys exploring this whole opportunity of possibility of you working with people around this, because they've been through all of the transitions. They've been through, from the corporate space, you know, your religious transformations to spiritual, corporate to direct marketing to now we're going to create this life of absolute possibility for our kids and our family, so that you become more of this family unit, this oneness. Okay, now we're going to go on this amazing vacation and explore this experience with our kids. Oh my gosh, boom, we go on this vacation and now we want to be here. And you guys are going through this incredible transformation of now being back here in Austin or Georgetown, which is just outside of Austin, to literally purge and let go of everything, because now you're going to go explore this whole new possibility of bringing your family to, well, your family's already in Costa Rica. Y'all are going to be there just living. And so, you know, before we wrap up, I want to talk a little bit more about how does that feel? Like when you look back over the last 15 years and then go back even 20 years and you see yourself today and what you've created and who you get to be for these children of yours. Say a little bit about that, because that right there is just, we often, here's what I want to say, is we often don't stop to take a look and see how far we've come. We're so busy trying to get somewhere. We're so busy trying to accomplish something. And then when we get there, we're not even that excited about it, because we're now trying to, well, I got here, what's next? Why don't you just get there, stand there and say, holy hell, look what I just transformed to get here. This is amazing. We never do that because we're so programmed to, once you get to the goal, now what's the next race you're going to win? Instead of like taking a look and taking stock at, it took something to cross that line. And that is what there is to celebrate. So let's just celebrate you for a moment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Take a look back.
Thank you. You know, I just feel like overwhelming gratitude.
Yeah.
Gosh, I didn't think I'd get emotional about that, but that's what happens when you feel gratitude, right?
Yes.
It's this beautiful, calming awareness. All of the beautiful things you go through in your life to bring you to other beautiful places. And so, you know, if I could say anything, like,
yeah, what is the one thing that, you know, here we are before we wrap up, what is the one thing, or the one of many things that you would say for those who are feeling stuck, or those who are, you know, wanting, those who are feeling that itch within them?
Listen to it, let go. Let go. Every day ask yourself, what am I holding on to so tightly? What physical things, emotional things, things that were done to you, that victim mindset of this happened to me and I just can't move past it. Forgiveness, like there's the emotional things to let go of, the anger and the frustrations there, or the worthiness and then there's the letting go of the things that you have. And it doesn't mean don't have things. It doesn't mean that, but it means your attachment to things. Like it means evaluating, why does this matter to me? Is this necessary? Do I need this? Is this helping me be inspired? Is this bringing me to my next level? If I look back at the collective, like how much stuff I let go of that I realized wasn't really who I was, or didn't define me, that I wasn't those things, I wasn't my career, I'm not even my body really. And so when you let go of those detachments and you open yourself up to true surrender, freedom, flow, that's where that gratitude and that emotion comes in, because I'm like, is it really that easy? Because we think that's hard. That sounds really hard, letting go of all that stuff, but when you do it, when you trust in that, when you step in that, when you go through that feeling of that fear, that uncomfortable stuff, that I used to define that whole idea of like, you know, good things come from not being in your comfort zone or something like that. And so I used to define that in a different way than I define it now. Now I know that discomfort could just be that feeling of like, oh, you know, fighting the feelings, fighting the higher self communication that's saying, do this. Like the ideas and the desires, they're planted there for a reason.
Yes.
And we second guess and we pull back, or we go back into the holding tight to the things that we know that we're comfortable with, and we don't move through that discomfort to see what's on the other side, this true beautiful freedom.
I love that you just said the seeds of desire that were planted there from the beginning. Like planted there from the beginning, literally, people, in the blueprint of your soul. It is all there. The triggers are all there to wake you up during the entire process, but you got to listen. You got to listen. And so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to not only be our first interview, yay!
I'm honored.
But really just sharing yourself openly and authentically. And like I said, I've just been living vicariously through you guys on Facebook. And I'll put a link to, may I put a link to your Facebook page?
Course.
And you guys can like follow her family and follow what they're up to, because she posts these beautiful stories and these beautiful pictures of just everything that they've been up to. And like I said, you know, she does have a business, and she also is there looking at maybe going into the retreat space. So really it would be a good opportunity for you to stay connected with her to see what's next. But I acknowledge you, and I'm just honored to know you, and thank you for taking the time.
I'm so grateful for you.
Oh gosh, it's been so amazing. And I mean, I was honored to work with you just when we did that session together. By the way, Martin Luther King, yes, came into her session. I have to drop that. That's right. He was there. Oh my God. So, and if you want to know more about that, just reach out to me. But, and that was a huge awakening too that day when you had that session and the messages that were coming through about you guys living in this purpose of peace and spreading the word of peace. And now here they are living in Costa Rica, which is a totally different conscious level, just totally different, not even 3D, totally living in the 4 and the 5D experience. And so the questions that I have to all of you, and I would love for you guys to comment in the comment box below, you know, really tell me, tell both of us, what do you have to let go of? What are the limiting beliefs you have to let go of? What's the limiting conditioning? If you saw my previous video about, you know, Ron Unplugged, I had all these conditions that were stopping me from actually experiencing something. You know, what are these conditions? What are you tied to? Or what do you think you're tied to? Because you're really not tied to anything. Everything you came in with, which was nothing but your skin, is everything you go out with. There is nothing you are tied to other than the love that's in your life, whether that's family, friends, and children. That's it. But even then, we all transition. So really, you know, the food for thought today is just really look at your life and see, what are you ready to let go of so that you can step into that space of what's next for you? And really, are you listening to your higher self? Are you listening to those little voices that come in? Not the ones that judge you, but the ones that tell you, hey, go do that. Hey, go do that. Hey, go do that. Even when they say, hey, take your supplements today. That's not your ego, okay? That's your higher self. Take your supplements today. Listen to that voice. The moment you take those supplements, you'll hear another voice. Now go do this today. And if you go and do that, I love a dragonfly is on your toe right now.
Oh my gosh,
if you go and do that, you'll hear another voice, go and do this today. If you begin to start following that voice, I promise you, your life will change. Your life will change. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Like the video, share it with a friend, and I look forward to speaking with all of you again soon. Thank you so much for being here, and have an amazing day. And thank you so much, Alisha.
Thank you. This is
so
wonderful.
excited.
Yes,
Thank
this is great. Peace and love.
Yeah.